And good afternoon from my end. Um, I'm happy to be, among this uh, you know, really interesting speakers, and I had really fun listening to the previous speakers. Thank you for that. My presentation is looking at empowering learners' metalinguistic awareness and multilingual competence in the language classroom. Basically, I focused on exploring teachers' beliefs and practices. So just to start off with, since this study is based on, in Saudi Arabia and especially the higher education, I just want to say that the concept of multilinguistic awareness plays a crucial role in language learning as it enables learners to comprehend and understand language as a system. So increasing the awareness allows our students to recognize patterns such as connections between languages, applying strategies that facilitate the acquisition of new linguistic skills. And because I'm looking at the ESL or the EFL classroom precisely, fostering metalinguistic awareness can empower our students to navigate multilingual environments more effectively and independently. Um, I would say that yes, Saudi Arabia is increasingly a multilingual society, but unfortunately, we are still following the English only classroom policies, and this is due to, higher educational, sector formalities and institutional barriers. So this study explores how teachers can conceptualize multilingual strategies to empower the learners and looks at the gap between the beliefs and the actual classroom practices. So just to start off with some of the concepts for those who are not, I'm sure most of us know, but it's just kind of a refresher. So what is metalinguistic awareness? It's learners' explicit and articulated or declarative knowledge about the syntactic, morphological, lexical, phonological, and pragmatic features of the second language. Um, it is linked with learners' ability to correct, to describe, and explain L2 errors. So, why it's important? It's important because it enhances literacy, cognitive flexibility, and also cross-linguistic understanding. As for multilingual competence, it's their individual's knowledge and ability to use multiple languages, both native and additional languages. So I really like this term of, multi-competence. It's because it extends beyond the linguistic skills, but it also, includes cognitive systems and also cultural understandings. So just a little bit about where the study is based. So Saudi Arabia has many dialects, which is, part of its cultural diversity, but mainly Arabic is the main national native language. And English teaching contexts use, English as as a foreign, so they use it as a foreign and the second language. Uh, so there are still conventional language education methodologies, which rely morely on, how languages are socially and politically, defined, and there are some boundaries between them. So there are some future trends in Saudi Arabia resulting from the Saudi vision, but when we look at, the teaching and the educational contexts, there seems to be, some misconceptions, and teachers are still applying the monolingual approaches to teaching the second language. Just a little or a quick kind of review of the previous literature. It's been found that multilingual teachers are more likely to implement metalinguistic strategies, but this has been inconsistent, or maybe this wasn't found in this study. Monolingual biases limit language awareness development. This was in 2023. And also, a Saudi study found that bilingualism enhances metalinguist awareness. Bilingual learners, they do outperform monolinguals in English proficiency, and teachers still resist to use Arabic in English classroom, as I said, because of, some of the misconceptions. Because the study looks at the teachers' attitudes and how, they can apply or translate that into practices. Most of the previous literature has found that many teachers favor monolingual English instructions, and multilingual teachers are more likely to support cross-linguistic learning. A recent study as well by Dawoodi found that multilingualism improved productive language skills, and exposure to multilingual languages enhances grammar, vocab, and fluency. Right, so there are three main research questions. The first one is, to what extent do university ESL teachers in Saudi Arabia possess the components of multilingual cognition? So this looks at their beliefs. And the second question looks at the ways that teachers' multilingual beliefs reflect on their classroom practices. And the third and final question looks at how can university teachers in Saudi Arabia empower learners to take ownership of their language learning, which is autonomy, and they develop their multilingual competence and their metalinguistic awareness. So I followed an explanatory sequential mixed method approach. The first phase, I conducted a survey, which was shared with higher education teachers. It looked at the belief and practices, and then I used descriptive inferential statistics, as part of the quantitative analysis. The second phase is a semi-structured interview, which was then thematically analyzed, and the last phase, which is kind of an interpretation of both phases together to find the conclusions. Right, just to look at the participants, so the total was 68 EFL teachers. I'm happy to see that it was, an equal division. So there were exactly 50% male teachers and 50% female teachers. As you can see, that most of them have a really, long experience of teaching. So almost 76% have more than 10 years of experience of teaching EFL and ESL. As for the multilingual status, more than half of them consider themselves as multilingual. The items in the survey, just to give you like a quick review, concerning the beliefs and practices, is divided into main themes, which I have embedded more points within each theme. So as you can see on the left, it's looking at the cognitive characteristics, the psycholinguistic knowledge, the metalinguistic knowledge, the cross-linguistic knowledge, and the knowledge of multilingual approaches and how teachers view their multilingual identity. And then this is reflected also in the the items that capture the practices. Right, let's look at the first question, what the research has found. The table shows that the multilingual cognition regarding the beliefs, as you can see, it's quite high regarding the 6 items that I have just reviewed. Precisely, teachers hold strong positive beliefs regarding all the 6 components of teacher belief themes. But the strongest agreement was for the cognitive characteristics, while the least was for cross-linguistic knowledge. This was interestingly reflected in the practices as well. As you can see in the next slide, the practices regarding or engaging cognitive, psycholinguistic, metalinguistic, and cross-linguistic implementation is quite high as well, but the highest or the most frequently reported practices are the ones related to engaging cognitive characteristics. And again, the least was for cross-linguistic implementation. And I will view why this was found in the this next phase of the research. Right. So there was no statistically significant differences in the beliefs between multilingual and monolingual teachers. And regression analysis revealed that neither multilingual status nor teaching experience strongly predicts multilingual beliefs. So this did not really affect their beliefs. Moving to the second question. To look at the correlation, they're very all close to zero, which means that there was an absence of meaningful linear relationship between the belief and practice gap. Again, so this really confirms previous literature. Also, for the multilingual teachers, they did not significantly differ from monolingual teachers. In implementing multilingual practices, there wasn't any significant difference. As for the multilingual status or experience, again, there was no significant, indication between the two items. Looking at the final research questions of how can they empower learners. So, this is just, I think, a review of what I've just said. So again, there wasn't any significant correlation. But neither of these beliefs, which this was interesting to see that neither of the belief construct significantly correlates with the use of empowering classroom practices. And this is why the interview with the teachers really highlighted some of the practices that they are trying to implement, regardless of how they think or what they believe. So the relationship also between autonomy beliefs and empowering practices is very weak, and it's not statistically significant as per the survey results. Right. So I would say that simply being multilingual does not really automatically translate into more multilingual classroom practices. And this is why interviews have looked at some of these discrepancies that were found in the first phase. So the thematic analysis looked at why teachers believe in multilingual cognition. They do believe in it, but they struggle to implement it. So mainly the first reason is the institutional policies restricting multilingual approaches, the lack of training in psycholinguistic and cross-linguistic teaching methods, and also their confidence as teacher in applying multilingual practices. So the main themes or the 5 themes that resulted from the interview are these, as you can see. Right, I'm just going to view some of the quotes. I love this quote related to student autonomy. So teacher 2 framed autonomy as essential to all learning, encouraging self-directed exploration, and even facilitating an extracurricular WhatsApp learning group. So as I said, they are trying, as just personal attempts. As for the second teacher, she promoted autonomy through peer scaffolding and mini research projects, allowing them to access information in the first language to hold them accountable for the second language production. So, these cases show that autonomy was seen, as a goal and a method for deepening engagement and responsibility in language learning.
Nada,
As
4 minutes.
yes, yes, I'm just gonna wrap up. I'm almost done. Right. Multilingual learning engagement. So one of the teachers has reported that students love and appreciate the opportunities to use the first language in learning, and they find translation tasks really motivating. Another teacher emphasized the confidence building effects of translanguaging, which is using, both of their language or, in a more strategic way. especially for lower level learners, as it does excite them to use both at the same time. Right. So just to conclude and to give some recommendations. So, as I said, there are challenges in Saudi classrooms as monolingual policies still limit the multilinguistic awareness. Teachers need more training in applying multilingual teaching strategies. And some of the practical solutions that are, suggested is to encourage translanguaging to especially for lower levels and for improved comprehension, to train teachers to integrate Arabic and English comparisons in lessons. This would build on critical thinking and cross-linguistic analysis. And just as a final thought, I would say that leveraging multilingualism in Saudi classrooms can empower students, enhance their learning, and strengthen their English proficiency. Thank you everyone for listening, and I'm happy to hear your comments or any questions.